Omo Awo OgunGbemi
That's
with
it.
us once again. Thank you
That's
for
it.
joining us
Thank you for having me.
on Soro with Iwa.
Gratitude. Modupe.
Of course. Today's topic is going to be about discernment. I do have a couple questions about its original meaning and the reason for discernment. So first of all, what is discernment in your own words?
Well, you have many levels to discernment. One of the best ones that I would tell you about is, most of the people that are listening to the pod are probably folks that are familiar with Christianity. So we have a thing in Christianity that's called discernment, and they say that you need to pray for discernment, or you need to, basically, you pray for discernment. You ask God to give you discernment, and the discernment that I am most familiar with is the discernment I incurred. Is it incurred? Incurred? What's the word?
Acquired.
I acquired through trauma. A lot of people are, empathic, and they don't realize that their empathic ability came from trauma. So
Empathic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a lot of trauma in my life, and that helped me develop my discernment. So I can look at a person or a situation and tell certain things, or like some people would say, oh, I know what kind of spirit that person is carrying, or I know where this situation is going. You develop a discernment as you go in life, because based on the experience that you've had, whether it be traumatic or knowledgeable.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well
That's
said.
where I am with discernment.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm.
So how do you strengthen your discernment?
Well, that is an interesting question. How would you strengthen your discernment? I would have to say the more knowledge that you obtain regarding different psyches that people have, or different, some people call different spirits. It's just like being in the craft that I'm in. The deeper you get into learning about different orishas, learning about different odus, you develop insight to where a person doesn't even have to talk. You really know the makeup of who they are, and you know what they're about. So your discernment will let you develop into what's the word? A great judgment. To where you can judge what is going on with a person and know if you want to be in business with them, know if you don't want to be in business, know if you want to be involved with. So your intuition tells you no or yes, and that is based on how deep you go with learning about different psyches and about the characteristics of different people.
Okay.
So experience.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How can you? Well, one more question is, well, I guess you answered it, but how do you channel it? Like, how do I know when it's my discernment or just me overthinking?
Oh, well, we got a deal for that. We call it Obara. It's an Odu for that. where it's just the King's Odu, Shango Odu. This is when you're saying something like that. That's when you have to really get quality time to do inward shadow work. You know what I'm saying? Because when you begin to do inward shadow work, then you know what trash is your trash. And you also can use that trash as a discernment tool, because you can recognize it in other people. So I always strive to get people to see in what I study, Obatala is considered to be the go-to to who you want to mold yourself after. Mm-hmm. And he represents knowledge. So the more knowledge you have about yourself and your traumatic events and your hang-ups and your stigmas, that helps you develop a serious discernment regarding external things that's going on around you as well as in you.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm gathering is, so knowledge is basically learning about yourself more. And it kind of feels like you have to focus, like you just got to focus on what is for you.
Well, yeah, that's where Ochosi comes in. You really have to learn. You see, we all have been raised by people, and unfortunately, the raising was not what I call nurturing. Nurturing is where you look within a person and you see what they are and you let them manifest that. We've been raised. Raising is where you take a tree and you twist it a certain way because you want it to grow that way. Well, we were beat, by our parents or punished or what have you to do things that suited their way of thinking. Mm-hmm. So we didn't get a chance to really develop our own identity or our own way of thinking. Mm-hmm. So now that we are grown, some of us, we can go ahead and we can go in there and say, well, wait a minute, I got this from my dad. I don't want that. I don't want to behave like that. That's not going to get me higher. Oh, wait a minute. I got that from my mom. I don't want that. That's not going to get me where I'm trying to be. Mm-hmm. Most folks don't do that. They just go ahead on and they keep persisting in that same behavior with their children and with their children and with their children to where some of the chains never get broken, and we call that a curse, a generational curse, because it's a course that we're following. Yep. So me personally, I only can give you what I done for myself. So I went in and I always look for things, little hang-ups and quirks that affect my relationships with people. And some of the things be things that have nothing to do with me. Why am I behaving that way? When you understand, you have to know what is you and what is not you. Yeah. What's been put in you and made you think this is you. And that takes work. That's where, spiritual or shadow work, people call it. That takes work. Okay. Responsibility. Respond to the abilities within you.
Awesome. Okay. And it's kind of my last question. Don't have to do it. But can your diet affect your discernment, or like how you can figure out who or what is influencing you?
Yes. Okay. Yes. I know a lot of people believe that it doesn't, but they're what we call microcosm, that some folks don't even have an idea about. But if you're eating, let's use alcohol. Mm-hmm. Let's use alcohol. Okay. I'm not going to give you so much as to where the word booze come from. Some folks that's listening know the word booze come from a spirit, and it means ghoul and all that good stuff. I'm not going to give you that. Mm-hmm. I just want to give you this one thing. They tell you're told that booze or alcohol represents spirits, right? Yep. And so when you drink alcohol, they talk about, you opening yourself up to all these spirits, right? Yeah. Well, what you're opening yourself up to is your ori now does not have any control, or your will does not have any control over the thoughts that you have, over the spirits. You look the word thought up, it means spirits. Over the spirits that are in there, and some will come out your mouth, or some behavior you'll do something, and later on you're like, I can't believe I did that. Yeah. It's like when you're drunk, if you pay attention next time you get drunk. You realize that you are in your body. You realize that you're in your body. Why is it that you don't realize that you're in your body when you're not drunk?
Demons.
Exactly. Exactly, because you're fighting to maintain control over your body. That's why you're conscious that you're in there, but you're not the only one running it. Wow. Mm-hmm. So drinking alcohol or eating certain things, like we in the culture, we have things that are called taboos. And most folks think is that, you just don't want me to eat that. No. Your dynamic, the way that you are genetically made, some things you should not eat because it will prevent you from elevating a certain way. It'll prevent you from having a certain skin. It'll prevent you from having a certain body. But some folks like, man, I ain't thinking about that. Then next thing you know, they got skin disease. Next thing you know, they got their hair falling out. All these things, all these taboos have a meaning and have a reason. It's not just given to you just because the Bible want to be like, you should not have sex on Thursday. It's not like that. So eating, yes, has a lot to do with your discernment, because it will close you off to certain things you're supposed to know, because food gives you information. Research, you'll see. That's it. I talked with this colonel, and he told me he learned about food and about why he was aggressive from the Army. And I said, well, all men should be aggressive. He said, yeah, all men should have a form of aggression, but there's a science to it. Every time before any kind of invasion or anything, he said they'd feed us nothing but red meat. Mm-hmm. And that's to build up what we call testosterone, what some folks call the anger,
Yeah.
So you can't say that food does not have anything to do with your discernment. It does. That's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, earlier we were talking about, people being judgmental.
Yeah.
And if the thing I like to tell a person is, when you point your finger at somebody, you got 3 more pointing back at you. Mm-hmm. So that's not to say that judging a person or judging a situation is wrong, because it's not. Mm-hmm. You possess a dark side and a light side. You should always judge every situation. When a person tell you that you're judgmental, it's normally somebody on the outside confirming what they think you're doing. So don't take it to heart if somebody say, oh, you're a very judgmental person. Okay, I'm a very judgmental person to you, who's being judgmental of me. Let that let that marinate with you for a minute. Ashe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gratitude, Modi Pay, for coming on the show today.
And I think my proper response is Ekushe, I think. Yeah. I only know Paquito or Yoruba language. I love the culture, but I'm really into the science. Your wife
is the Yoruba language teacher.
Yeah, she in it, man. Excuse me. Don't judge me if I said that wrong. Yeah.
I don't know the language either, but thank you so much for joining us on Soro with Iwa.
Thank you. Gratitude.